All right, here we go. We're back, guys, and I think we're going to move on to... We're going to touch a little bit on just Hearthstone and Heroes, and kind of continuing the Blizzard talk, which is how much of you guys, or do you guys think that some of the things that we're seeing in Hearthstone and Heroes is a reaction to a lot of the criticism that StarCraft 2 has had in the last year or two, which is it's not as accessible as like a League of Legends, and there's not as many revenue channels. Because the one thing that I'm noticing with those two games is that it's headed towards more the casual end of the spectrum than really the hardcore end, which Blizzard games have always been in the past.
I think Blizzard games have been very casual lately, but I think Blizzard are definitely clued up as what their company... Like, the Hearthstone thing is an amazing game, but it was done by a small team of developers compared to anything else, and it was produced quickly, and it has the means to be great. It does, but that's well
as a
done.
competitive game though, or just purely
definitely.
Okay.
Like competitive, definitely. Casual, definitely. It's it's Blizzard don't necessarily invent things. They take what's there and they make something good of it. That's what they used to do, and they've done the same thing with a card game, which is impressive. Obviously, a lot of people are saying like Hearthstone's like very simple compared to Magic of the Gathering, which it is. But it also, if they're very smart, Blizzard, they will release a casual game to bring in the casuals, and they will release a pack or an update or some sort of change to the game, like expansion, that will make it slightly more complex, and then get it to the point where people really enjoy the game from turn one to the end of the turn in terms of its complexity, as opposed to, okay, this is the only choice I have because I've only got 4 cards to start with, and this is how the deck has to play.
One thing's for sure, it's pretty certain that they're going to be making more money with this game than StarCraft 2, just given the revenue models within Hearthstone. Thorin, do you have any thoughts on just what you've seen of Hearthstone and even Heroes of the Storm?
Never played Hearthstone, never watched it. I actually used to think Magic the Gathering was a good game, so to me it just shows how people can be just so easily led by fads that will get on board with something just because it's popular. Because if you like that game and you think it's really good competitive, go play Magic the Gathering. It has like a pro tour, it has thousands of cards, it has a really rich history, has websites that are fucking like, that's one of the few things I do know. I once read a Magic the Gathering website, and the amount of content they have, like breakdowns of new cards and stuff, they go so in depth, like as much depth as you want exists, whereas obviously Hearthstone is like fighting to even become an esport. So personally, I don't even see, aside from the fact it's flavor of the month, what the point of it is as a game. To me, it's just Pokemon the card game.
There's
oh my god,
there's a community.
I would just like to point out that statement started with, I don't know Hearthstone, I've never seen it, and then we got into it's shit and not even a game. Holy shit.
Basically, Hearthstone
I'm not interested in it.
Spectator experience, as similar to Magic of the Gathering tours, if you ever seen them on Twitch TV. It's a really good spectator experience. It's like you get to see what both players have. You get to see the options. It's simple enough right now to have your own opinion.
Well, you don't get to see... There's no OBS mode yet, so you don't get to see...
Yeah, but like when they did the Blizzard, I think it was ESL that ran the Blizzard production for it. It was really pretty good because obviously it's quite easy there because you just switch between the two PCs.
You're just flipping between the switches kind of thing.
And they even had a really nice overlay where you had like Artosis on one side and Crip on when you went. It's going to need to evolve, and if Blizzard are smart, they basically make the game more complex, add a spectator mode so people can actually run tournaments properly from home. And the difference between that and Magic of the Gathering, Thorin, is that if you want to go play Magic of the Gathering, sure, you'll find places to play it. But as we all found out when we were able to be competitive at our PC at games we like, sports became a lot less interesting to be our competitive outlet.
By the way, Magic the Gathering exists the same way Hearthstone does. You can buy the cards and you can play it online, and you have been able to for like 10 years.
Okay, well, I didn't know that, but...
Yeah, you can. You can do that, but it's...
Still, the facilities that, like, Blizzard have still given with Battle.net and just being able to log on, and also the arena system where you get to play X games and you get to be competitive in a small way, that's great. And they can really make this game big.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's headed toward the more accessibility route, and a lot of people don't know about Magic the Gathering. A lot of people aren't Magic the Gathering would just be too overwhelming, and Hearthstone I think might be that bridge as well as its own industry.
Well, it's like the difference between Dota 2 and League of Legends. Why are there more League of Legends players? It's easier to get into. Why are there less Dota 2 players? Because if you try and play it for the first time, you have no fucking idea. Like, I wouldn't go into a Magic of the Gathering as a card game now, because I'd be like, well, how many fucking cards are there? How many decks do I need? You know, I wouldn't have the time to want to learn it, but...
I think we're short... I think we're not giving enough credit to with Hearthstone, because the actual experience, the viewing experience, like you said, James, is better because there's all these animations that actually make it much more enjoyable than
cinematics.
Than Magic.
I forgot that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what they're known for, man.
All right, so Hero of the Storm.
Steven. The Diablo 3 cinematics were pretty fucking sick. Even if the story was ass and the gameplay was ass.
But
it's okay, isn't the whole point of the esports industry to promote really good esports competitive games? So yeah, what we're going to do now is we're going to bridge the gap to casual people. We're going to say, hey, we've got these awesome games, right? And we're going to make a mode for you where you can play. Yeah, but you're doing it the other way, mate. You're going, we've got this really casual game. Maybe we could make that an esport if we like make it really good. And you know, Blizzard will surely deliver. Like, really, will they?
Well, hold on.
Come on, James.
Well, like let's consider, like, if you consider the history of things, right? And you guys are way more well versed in this than I am. From my viewpoint, the history has always been. Actually, it's been what Dustin Browder has said exactly, and Richard Lewis actually quoted him earlier, that Blizzard is, quote-unquote, we're not interested in making an esport, we just want to make a really good game. Because that's how games have kind of done it. Like, if you look at Quake, if you look at CS 1.6, if you look at StarCraft, those games were never set out by the developers to be an esport. And I can't speak...
It's a good point when the esport doesn't already exist.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that those games were just made to be good games, and the esports kind of grew from there on out. However, now that we're in 2013, and you do have major game developers, or well, at least large companies like Valve and Riot, actively shoving and pushing their game to try to get their game to be like, this is going to be an esport, and now we're doing work to actually make this game an esport. I don't know if it's necessarily enough to just make a great game and put it out there and leave it alone and assume that it will develop on its own to be an esport, because the culture that exists now regarding esports in 2013 is way different than the culture in 2003 or even earlier than that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Hearthstone is, and James said it before, is that it was developed by a very small group. They had no expectations it would explode like this, and Eric Dodson on Valuetown even said that they never envisioned esports even being anything with Hearthstone until they saw like the Innkeepers Invitational at BlizzCon. And just the success there.
They say esports like it's some sort of exclusive thing. It's not. Esports is basically competitive gaming. It's a multiplayer game that people enjoy playing. If you have a multiplayer game that people enjoy playing over and over again against each other, you're essentially set up very well to be an esport. Hearthstone currently is the game best set up to be an esport.
That's not true. Well, we're playing the semantics. Because that's not what somebody says would consider to be an esport. Like, I could make a game of Flash right now where you smash dicks against each other, and if it's got multiplayer competitiveness, I would call it an esport. When people are talking about esports now, they're talking about games where a decent number of players can make a living off of being a professional in that game. I think that's what people are kind of saying when they say, like, is it an esport or not, you know?
Well, then if there's enough people playing your game and
just typing, man,
then you actually have a big fan base. Therefore, if you do tournaments, you have a lot of viewers. Then you can sell sponsorships. If you have systems to sell for the esport community and create money for them, you can generate money within it. But that's the whole point. Hearthstone is one of the best games currently set up to be an esport because it has
I agree with
the viewership.
So
it has good gameplay.
Regarding Hearthstone, what did you guys think about the way the beta was marketed? Because that's kind of led to some drama with League of Legends recently, in particular with just not allowing some of the players to stream a game. In particular, it was Hearthstone.
I'm very sorry for this, because apparently they didn't quote, they said, basically, we put a rule that people couldn't play other people's games because some other companies were trying to pay the players to play their games. It might have so happened that when I was working at Stunlock Studios and Wicked, who was a SK player for League of Legends, was playing Bloodline Champions outside of League of Legends sometimes, we noticed that we went from 4K signups in a day to 12K just because Wicked was playing. And I contacted him and said, hey, man, if I give you some money, would you like to play Bloodline Champions every once in a while? And I never went through with it, but obviously Wicked probably told SK, who probably told Riot somehow, and then that maybe came around. But it was a good marketing idea. It was very guerrilla, like, you know, why the fuck not?
So underground.
So
The that thing is like, that's a really uncomfortable area to get into. I can understand Riot wanting to control the players when they're playing LCS matches, when they're representing Riot in like LCS events, and when they're doing, you know, Riot sponsored activities and shit. But to tell a player what they can or cannot do, even if it came down to taking money from another game developer to play a game on stream, like, that's their fucking stream, man. Like, how the fuck are you gonna tell like somebody who's grown their audience on Twitch.tv, which has no association. Riot doesn't fucking own Twitch. Riot doesn't own the streaming technology. Riot doesn't own the player, even if they do salary them to play in their tournament. It seems really weird that Riot would go to a player and be like, "Yo, you cannot accept these business propositions for another game."
Yeah,
like that was exactly
really the point I made.
To me.
You know, like when I wrote an article after the LCS contract got leaked, and that was exactly the point I made. It just seems like it was almost like Riot was saying, "You're only a esports celebrity, and you only have an audience because of our game. Therefore, now we're going to get you on the comeback," and that's like such a really distasteful, you know, and very arrogant thing to say to anybody. I also made the point, and I kind of stand by it, even based on what James has said. Like, I don't think Blizzard are like some fucking underground company. Like, I honestly think the number of people that came across Hearthstone, you know, through LOL streams exclusively is not the fucking majority. You know, like.
Well, they sent the keys out to a lot of big streamers. I mean, that was like part of the marketing. Like,
obviously, right? And obviously you do that because you want people to get visibility. But I think if you're a fan of Blizzard games, or you're a fan of card games, or you're an esports enthusiast or a games enthusiast, like, you heard about Hearthstone. Like, everyone was talking about it anyway. I'm not saying there isn't a decent number that like tuned into a LOL stream and went, "Oh, what's that game you're playing? Oh, it's Hearthstone.
That
How do I
princess.
get a beat key?" But yeah, or that too. But the idea that, like, you know, there's this like 50% of the Hearthstone player base is all down to LoL's success. I think,
And like, you have to understand, like,
Riot being a little bit grandiose, you know.
my intentions was basically spending my marketing budget to have players kind of who enjoy playing the game to ask them to basically play it on stream. Like this was way before there was any LCS. This was way before anything. This was like literally when League of Legends was just first getting big, and Wicked would have made absolutely no money from like anything, like no SK salary, I'm sure, no like very minimal prize money. And I was like, well, why shouldn't I spend my marketing budget on competitive gamers and support them as well as, you know,
but
promote
again,
my game?
you're doing that not because of the game that they're playing. You're doing it because of the popularity of their stream.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have been reenacting Goatsy every fucking, you know, 5 minutes, right? Like, and I'm even doing the actions, which is worrying. But, you know, it wouldn't have mattered, right? It was a popular stream, and that was why you wanted to get your game placed on that stream. That's
I mean,
got nothing
if I was able to do it.
That's about the player. That's about the player. It's not about whatever game they got famous through.
I mean, I obviously found certain people that actually did enjoy Bloodline Champions, and so I was like, there was like some World of Warcraft players, you know, a couple of League of Legends players, even a StarCraft player here and there, and I would have gone for people that actually liked playing it to spend my marketing budget with them, because that would have made sense. I wouldn't have just like bought people, but yeah, okay. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about Heroes of the Storm, because you know, that's kind of the next thing. It's the MOBA. It's their
Is it
attempts
the next thing? Doesn't sound
It's
like
going to be the next thing. I'm going to start playing Heroes of the Storm as soon as it launches.
So that is going to be the next thing. Steven is.
Me and the squad. I've got 4 other fucking superstars lined up. We're going to jump on that right at the start. We're going to make that dirty esports money, just like Trump did with Hearthstone. What? I mean... No, what the fuck? No, we're not. We don't have like an official thing set out yet, but we're going to fucking do it, man. Mark my words. If that game grows big, I'm going to be a millionaire. I won't forget any of you. Okay?
Did you watch the original video then? Because it looked fucking hideous.
I played it.
No,
I played it at BlizzCon.
I watched one gameplay video, and I'm trying not to watch anymore because I really want to play it when it comes out. And if I keep watching videos, I might not want to. So.
Yeah. No shit.
Stay ignorant, just like the gamer base that will play it.
It looks a fucking mess of a game, dude. Like,
it's not that,
man.
It's not that messy of a game, but it's definitely casual, for sure. And I don't know how that's gonna come across. I think a lot of people will play it because it's casual, but as a competitive esport, I'm not sure I can see it being that right now. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but we're probably like a year out at least before we see or even hear about a
Do you
launch
guys
date for
even
that.
give a shit about that game? Like when it launches, do you actually give a shit and think it's going to do anything?
I mean, it's worth a try.
I mean,
but...
you know what? Like 6 months ago, I would have said no, but with how Hearthstone is doing, doesn't that make you think? You know,
Different
there
genre.
were a lot. Of,
Yeah, but
there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people that jumped onto Hearthstone. There were a lot of people that jumped onto Hearthstone, and this is stuff that I have to consider because obviously these are like big career moves for me, right? Because if you look at some of the people that stream Hearthstone now, like Crip. Although to be fair, Crip had a big audience before, but I would point to like Trump, right? Trump had 300 viewers streaming StarCraft 2.
Let's just look at our Artosis today. 15K.
You say hop on. You say hop on, but I think Trump really enjoyed the game, so played it.
Well, I know I'm not trying to say it derogatorily, but like let's be real here. Like let's be men, right? Grown up. He got on early into a very good game that grew in popularity, and he kind of roicheted. I'm sorry. He fucking rocketed to the top, right? And that happens. If you can be the first one on the scene in any big game, even if you're not like, and I'm not talking shit on Trump because I don't watch Trump's Hearthstone, but I know for a fact that if you're the first person there, you can be mediocre and be huge in a specific game, right? To name examples that I'm not talking shit on, look at HD StarCraft or Husky, right? They weren't necessarily like the most amazing people in the world, but they were there first. They made a fuck ton of content first, and as a result, they were huge in that scene, you know, when it started to grow in popularity. Much the same way that Trump is big now in Hearthstone, and there are a few Hearthstone streamers, I want to say Masan is another one, Hafu, people that weren't necessarily huge before that are getting a decent following because they were there earlier. So if
the thing in Hearthstone, guys, is that
Wait. Steve, are you asking for career advice, or are we talking about esports and how half the Heroes of the Storm is going to do anything?
I wasn't asking for career. I'm just telling you how you can look at the early development of a scene if you're like a streamer or whatever, like to hop on and be big or whatever. That some people do with Hearthstone. I'm also saying that earlier when Hearthstone launched, like I would have considered making that move or at least trying it if I would have known it would have been big. But I don't think anybody thought Hearthstone would have been as big.
Dude, I offered you a key. You didn't even want a key.
Yeah, because by then I'd already missed the hype train. The hype train was gone.
I don't think that's...
Those dirty early viewers, that dirty early money was gone. But I'm just saying that like nobody thought Hearthstone would be as big as it was, right? So now it's hard to say for Heroes of the Storm, could that catch on? I don't actually know. What do you think?
I think the Heroes of the Storm is going to be a non-factor in esports. I think there might be a BlizzCon tournament.
It could be a popular game, though, but it's just...
There will be streamers, but like that doesn't affect like esports.
A streamer can definitely make money out of it. If you want to be the first in that, Steve, man, you probably make a fucking killing. But it's not going to be a fucking esport. It's going to be another fad, another esports fad. And people forget, man. Like there's so many companies out there now that are so savvy about it. They try and make these esports games, and 90% of the games that are meant to be esports ready out of the box fail hard.
Yeah,
Brink,
sure.
Brink, right? And I can talk about that firsthand because we were my company who I work for was brought in as a consultant for that. We were like consultants on how to make it esports ready. Yeah, I know. No. But listen, right? We gave them all this advice, and they were like, "Oh, well, we sort of discount that, and we discount that and all that." But the fact is, the game was so fucked at release anyway. Like, you know, if you can't even play it, like the last thing on your mind has to be, you know, whether it's going to be an esports title or not. It's got to at least be playable to begin with, which Brink wasn't. It was terrible. But you know, so many people make these games these days, and they're like, it's going to be esports. We're going to have a ladder system in there. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to force people into competitive play. And it's just bullshit. And it just ends up like some little fad here today, gone tomorrow, and the internet gets on it and it's like, oh my god, can I have a beta key? Because like begging for beta keys makes you cool. And then when you get the beta key and you realize the game's shit, you just go and beg for the next beta key, and that's what streamers live off. So, but it's not going to be esports.
Yeah, it has turned into that.
Of course it has. Of course it has. Like, who's got the beta? Who can get a stream up? You know, like that's all it is.
I think when you have to consider what Steve said and what you're saying in terms of how a game's going to come out of the box, I would have a lot more faith in Blizzard than whoever the fuck made Brink. I can't even remember now.
Yeah.
But the point being is like Heroes of the Storm, when it comes out, will be very playable, and it will look great, it will sound great. You know, that's the kind of, in a box as a game itself, it will be, you know, good like quality. That's all Blizzard do. Whether or not it will be the best gameplay you've ever seen from a MOBA to make it competitive, I very highly doubt, and I wouldn't back my esport career on that game at all. I would, as Destiny maybe did point out.
Sorry, am I supposed to say beta, by the way?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. No, but I think they're carving out a niche for them in the MOBA space, which is the casual.
If anybody did anything with Heroes of the Storm to make money off it, Steve has got the right idea. Stream it when it comes out because
absolutely.
it
If
will
there's
be a
long-term longevity there, then you stick with it. Otherwise, but yeah, the way that my shit's set up, I know I'll be popular for the first week at least because of all the other people that I've got on board with it. But yeah, no, I know it might not be a long-term thing at all. I'm not going to put all my.
You've actually got a team.
Oh, you do. Hold on.
Is this a troll team or is this like a
no,
League of Legends
no,
team?
hold on. It's tentative right now.
You're gonna type it to me.
Wait, maybe. Oh, would you be interested in joining? We're looking for a fit. This is what we have so far.
What's the name?
What we have so far. How big are these streams going to be when this first starts? I put it in the group chat.
Oh my god. Oh come, dude, that's like Star. Come on, that's like all.
Yeah, but come on, dude.
Guys.
How many people are going to watch that shit?
Dude, I thought it was going to be like League of Legends guys and Dota guys all mixed into this. This is all
fuck
StarCraft
that. I don't want those
shit.
fucks. Who would I pull from those games? Those guys don't have passion like StarCraft. I don't know a fucking name for the team. I don't know. We'll probably be like Team EG, and we'll think of something else to fit in. Since they did Heroes of the Storm for like Heart of the Storm, we'll think of some other like letters to fill in a pre-existing acronym, just to keep the theme consistent.
All right, great. All right, well, I think we're.
Girls, but
What?
What?
it's nice, all female team, and except you, I noticed.
That's the biggest